Every year, the global healthcare system destroys medicines worth more than 30 billion USD. Unopened tablets, sealed insulin vials, unused syringes crushed, buried, or flushed into wastewater systems. Meanwhile, millions of people in Africa and South Asia die from the lack of those very same drugs. The reason sounds reasonable: they have expired. But the paradox is this: most of those medicines are still effective. Studies from the U.S. Shelf Life Extension Program (SLEP) show that over 90% of drugs remain stable for many years beyond the date printed on their packaging. So why do we keep throwing them away? The answer is not just science. It is human behavior. From risk aversion to legal structures and economic incentives, we have built a system in which safety is purchased through massive waste. And behind it lies a silent crisis, a breakdown of trust between science and consumers. Imagine you find a bottle of aspirin that expired 2 months ago. You know it may still work, yet you throw it away. That decision is not driven by logic, but by risk aversion, a defensive mechanism of the human brain. In behavioral economics, this is explained by prospect theory. Developed by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, humans fear losses more than they desire gains. In your mind, the cost of accidentally taking a bad pill feels far greater than the price of buying a new bottle. As a result, consumers worldwide choose guaranteed disposal over scientifically justified use. Governments and the pharmaceutical industry rely on this psychology to maintain trust. A single number printed on a box, EXP 5/2025, becomes a promise that everything before that date is safe, and everything after it is dangerous. Yet in reality, that number represents probability, not a biological cliff. The consequence: billions of pills are destroyed every year not because they are toxic, but because they have crossed the threshold of human trust. When trust is priced through fear, behavioral economics turns into a global money-burning engine. Some medicines are so critical that even a 10% loss in active ingredient can determine the line between life and death. One example is the EpiPen, an epinephrine autoinjector used in anaphylactic shock. After expiration, potency may decline slightly, but in an emergency, slightly can mean failure. Manufacturers therefore choose short expiration dates to guarantee absolute safety. But this choice creates a moral paradox. While millions of still potent EpiPens are discarded in New York, an allergy patient in Uganda may not have access to a single life-saving injection. The same story repeats with insulin, cardiovascular drugs, and antibiotics. In wealthy nations, abundance and fear coexist. In poorer countries, scarcity and death walk side by side. This inequality is not driven by science, but by global safety standards where good enough is never acceptable unless it is perfect. And so, modern medicine unintentionally turns drugs into time-bound commodities. Even though most retain biological value far beyond their labeled lifespan, the gap between potency and life widens, and within that gap, medical ethics are put to the test. If waste were the end of the story, it would already be tragic. But the reality is, worse expired medicine does not only drain wallets, it poisons the planet. According to research by the United Nations Environment Program, more than 260 tons of pharmaceutical compounds enter the environment each year through household and hospital wastewater. Most water treatment systems cannot fully remove pharmaceutical residues, especially hormones and antibiotics. The result is profound. Birth control hormones alter fish sex characteristics. Antibiotics create drug-resistant superbugs in rivers. Contaminated food chains eventually loop back to humans. Every discarded pill does not disappear. It is reborn in water, in ecosystems, in other living bodies. The safety we trust inside our home medicine cabinets becomes a global risk in the oceans. We throw away medicine because we fear toxicity, yet we end up creating real toxicity. Entropy does not only break down drug molecules, it erodes the boundary between use and destruction. And in that cycle, the planet becomes the final victim of our misplaced faith in expiration dates. Some countries are trying to escape this loop. In Switzerland and Singapore, startups are developing smart label sensors that track temperature and humidity. The label stays green if storage conditions are safe and turns red when degradation occurs, reflecting real stability rather than a fixed date. In Kenya, health organizations are piloting drug revalidation programs, testing expired drugs instead of destroying them, especially antibiotics and emergency medicines. Some nonprofit initiatives are even experimenting with sharing viable surplus drugs between hospitals under the supervision of the World Health Organization. Blockchain technology has also been proposed to track storage conditions across supply chains, allowing each batch of medicine to have a real-time, data-driven lifespan. All of these efforts share one goal: shifting from expiration date to current condition. A pill should not be sentenced by a printed number, but judged by real data. However, achieving this requires a deep change. Humanity must relearn how to trust science instead of fear. Expiration dates were once symbols of progress, a safety boundary between humans and error. Today, they have also become symbols of systematic waste. We are not only throwing away medicine, we are throwing away trust in science, in data, and in our own rational judgment. The solution is not simply changing the number on the box. It is rebuilding trust, the belief that safety does not have to mean waste, and that inside every pill there is not only chemistry, but responsibility to the planet itself.